So TrueGreen7 recently made a video where he changed one letter of a Pokemon's name and then created a new Fakemon based on the original Pokemon and the new name. But I am no artist, so instead of making a Fakemon or an original piece of art, I'm going to use Photoshop and throw a bunch of random things together and then make an abomination of a goof Pokemon. The first one being Wingdra. Clearly, I have replaced the K in Kingdra with the W to make Wingdra. And my beautiful art showcases how the standard is going to be for these. It is Kingdra, but with a wing instead. Instead of Water Dragon, it's now Flying Dragon, and its dex entry goes, feathers shed by this Pokemon have such a splendorous shimmer to them that they've been given to royalty as gifts. It is said that it usually hides above the clouds, only coming down to earth when it rains. It creates tornadoes when it yawns. And the first and the last section there come from real dex entries, which you'll also see I did with all of these. There was dex entries saying that scales shed by Kingdra would be given to royalty because of their gleam, and it creates whirlpools when it yawns and hides deep in the ocean. So I switched it around a bit. And I also went ahead and made fun evolution methods for each of these that make some sort of sense. Wingdra evolves from Seadra when traded holding a pretty feather, because to evolve Seadra into Kingdra you trade it holding a dragon scale. So to evolve it into Wingdra, of course, you would trade it holding a pretty feather, which already exists in the games as an item that is only traded for money. So I thought it was a perfect fit. Next up, I swapped the E out for an A in Florges and turned it into Florgas. It still has the floor, so of course it has the flowers, but now it also has gas. Usually a pure fairy type, this time it's a poison grass type because it has flowers, which are plants, as well as the poisonous gas. The dex says it claims exquisite flower gardens as its territory and obtains power from basking in the unending aroma emitted by flowering plants. It spins this scent into the poison gas that makes up most of this Pokemon. This comes from the dex entry that says that Florges are often found around nice flower gardens and supposedly pull their energy from them. And it evolves from Floette when given nauseating perfume, which does not exist, but I thought that would be a fun tie between poisonous gas and flowers. This one might be my favorite, Pigkite. I swapped out the N for a K in Pignite and made it Pigkite. It's just Pignite, but instead of his body, it's just a kite. He's just a kite pig. A pig kite. Instead of a fire type, he's now a pure flying type. He has nothing fiery about him. He just flies around in the air. The dex says kids will often adorn ribbons to Pigkite's tail to show affection. The more it eats, the more fuel it has to make the updraft in its stomach stronger. This makes it fly higher and farther than before, filling it with even more power. The dex says that Pignite eats to fuel the fire in its belly, and of course it would retain the eating because it's still the pig part, but no longer fire type, of course it would fuel the updraft, making it fly higher and farther than before. And this abomination evolves from Tepig when Tepig is in free-for-all for 10 seconds. Which is currently not possible in the games, but I think we could set up like a Tepig catapult somewhere near the start of the game. If you have never played a Zelda game, you should probably just skip ahead by about a minute, because this entire Pokemon is a big Zelda reference. I took Pangoro and threw an N on the end to make it Pangoron, which is of course Pangoro, but on a Goron instead of just a big panda man. Now a rock fighting type instead of a dark fighting type. The dex says, below the pelt, its skin is made of the rocks of which it feeds. It strikes with punches that can smash a boulder into bite-sized chunks with just one punch. Using its leaf, Pangoron can predict the next move of its opponents. This mixes multiple dex entries of Pangoro with the first line of the Zelda wiki on Gorons. Gorons have rock skin and eat rocks, and Pangoron has a dex entry about how it can take out trucks with one punch and predict moves of its opponent with its leaf. So now, instead of punching a truck, it will punch boulders into bite-sized pieces that its Goron friends can munch on. Evolves from Pancham at level 32 with a rock-type Pokemon in the party, because if you didn't know, Pancham evolves into Pangoro at level 32 with a dark-type Pokemon in the party. So that was an easy evolution method to make. This one is another one of my favorites just because it was so easy and funny to me. Salts. It's just Ralts, but salt. Actually, it's Ralts inside of salt. He's just sitting in there doing nothing. Anyway, he's a rock psychic type now instead of just a psychic type because Knackley and Knacklestack and Garganacl, those are the only salt-based Pokemon, and they're all rock type because of the salt being rocks, which its dex entry also goes a little bit into. It uses its salt for its rock-type attacks. If ever it runs out of salt, this Pokemon dies. It is highly attuned to the emotions of people and Pokemon. it shimmies deeper into its salt if it senses hostility, which I think is just adorable. That part doesn't pull from anything, I just thought it would be cute if it just shimmied down into the salt when it felt threatened. But I guess it is pulling from its ability and all of its dex entries that it senses the emotions of people and Pokemon. And the running out of salt part kind of pulls from the Charmander. If its tail goes out, it dies, because I always thought that was interesting. And it has not evolved, so no evolution method there. Okay, I really like this one too. This is Duck Noir. Okay, hear me out. I changed out the S for a C. Now instead of Dusk Noir, it is Duck Noir. So just a black ghostly duck. And I just really like how I made this image. It's just a picture of a duck that I found on Google, but I made it grayscale and just slapped on random parts of Dusk Noir. Anyway, Duck Noir is a ghost water type instead of a dark ghost type, or maybe just a pure ghost type. Because of course, being a duck, it lives in the water, and its dex entry even expands on this. Duck Noir paddle around on the surface of lakes using its highly developed feet. The antenna on its head captures radio waves from the world of spirits that command it to take people there. When it receives such a signal, it drags the creature down into the depths until its soul can be taken, implying that that creature has died via drowning. Always fun. I kind of forgot to mention, that first little part is just because I thought it was ridiculous that I made its feet Dusk Noir's hands. And this thing evolves from Duskclops, but duck, when traded holding the Reaper Cloth. Because that's how Duskclops evolves into Dusk Noir. Of course, that's how Duckclops would evolve into Duck Noir. And last but not least, we have the first one I made, and the one that really inspired this video, Magneton. Not Magneton. It's Magneton, but I swapped out the O for an E and just made it Magneton. This is 10 magnets. It's pretty simple. And instead of electric steel, it's now steel electric, because there's a lot more steel going on than before. When 10 Magnemite get too close, their conflicting poles pull them together. It's best to keep your distance, as it's said to cause earaches, dry all the moisture in a 10-yard radius, and roam where thunderstorms are bound to soon begin. Yeah, I did not know how crazy and diverse Magneton's dex entries were. They cause earaches, they dry all moisture in the air around them, and they stay around where thunderstorms are. So you do not want to get close to a Magneton, and of course you would not want to get close to a Magneton. And I think this evolution method might be my favorite. Evolves from Magnemite, not Magneton, at level 30, with 3 Magneton in the party. So 3 Magneton, that's 9. And then you have the Magnemite that evolves into it. That's the 10th Magnemite, making Magneton. And you can even see the one that evolves into at the top of the pyramid. That is a literal Magnemite just stuck on top, when the other 9 are made up of Magnetons. I don't know. I really like this one. As you could probably tell, I had a lot of fun making this ridiculous art pieces and dex entries and evolution methods. So if you want to see more of this craziness, subscribe and like. If this gets enough attention, I'll definitely be making a part 2. And even if you don't want a part 2 of this video, I've got a lot more videos coming up soon, so stick around for that.